Brent Fikowski here, talking a little bit more about the Air Bike and specifically how to use the monitor, how to read the monitor, and then how to interpret the Train Your Weakness program for improving your biking. So with this monitor, honestly, I prefer just to turn it on, 3, 2, 1, go, start pedaling, and just read the monitor, and then I will write down my intervals and my program on a board, something like this, and I'll keep it right next to the bike. I'll have a marker there, and I might mark down some of my average, let's say RPMs or watts, or the time it took me to complete certain intervals. I'll just write them right down, as opposed to using this particular monitor. I find it's less work to just do it this way than it is to try and get the monitor to do exactly what I need, especially if the intervals are a little complicated. So for this Train Your Weakness program, we provided a spreadsheet that should give a pretty accurate representation, if you have a classic assault bike, on if you held a precise RPM for an extended period of time, exactly how many calories you're going to accumulate. Because there isn't a metric on here that says like calories per minute or calories per hour. The watts and the RPM are directly correlated, and then the calories tick up depending on what that's at. Now, important to mention on the spreadsheet is that as you get this bike up to speed, if I immediately go from 0 to 70 RPM, it's going to take this screen 4 to 5 seconds to catch up to the actual speed of the pedals. So there is going to be a delay there. And then another interesting thing to note is, depending on the model of assault bike you have, or a Schwinn bike or a Rogue bike, and how well they're maintained, and all those things, there's all sorts of little things, whether it's oil, tightness of the chain, the precise angle of the fan blades, your effort might not directly yield the same number of calories on different machines, even the same brand. So that's an important thing to remember, whereas when you're dealing with a Concept 2 machine, those are calibrated, whereas this is just counting RPMs. And so those RPMs aren't necessarily equal between machines and between people. So it's really important to, if you're changing machines and so on, there's a few different ways to measure that output. And so when we do this program, we've sort of tried to use 3 different metrics. We have based off your RPM, assuming you're using the same machine every single day. And then we also use just rate of perceived exertion, RPE. And so you're just gonna rate how hard you're going on a 1 to 10 scale. 10 is obviously as hard as you can go. 1 is like very easy, basically not moving. And then lastly is your heart rate. So when you do that 10-minute max calorie test on the assault bike, you're going to, if you have a heart rate monitor, you're gonna measure your heart rate. Let's say your max heart rate is 200 beats per minute. Then you're gonna take percentages of that to determine your zone 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then some of the work in the program has a heart rate metric, and you can try to follow that. Try to follow, a percentage of your RPM, take a few RPM off your average RPM in that 10-minute test, and use the RPE. And between those 3, no matter what bike you're using, you're gonna get the result, the intended stimulus that we're intending. So here's one quick example of what one of our programs looks like. This is very simple, there's more to it in that day, but 8 minutes at 5 out of 10 rate of perceived exertion, or zone 2 heart rate. So jump on the bike, start, and you're gonna pedal for 8 minutes. You're gonna try and maintain what feels like a 5 out of 10 rate of perceived exertion, or maintain in the zone 2 heart rate zone, this range. So you're gonna find that range. Again, we have this spreadsheet. So when you do your 10-minute max calorie test on the bike to begin the program, you're gonna have your heart rate monitor on if you have one, and then you'll find your max heart rate. You'll go to our spreadsheet, you'll find your max heart rate, and then you're gonna look and you're gonna determine what the appropriate range is for each zone. And when you're doing that 8 minutes, you're just gonna try and keep your heart rate in that zone in real time while you're biking. What another one of the sessions might look like. That last session used RP and zone, heart rate zones. This one here is focusing a little more on your time trial average RPM. So when you finish your 10-minute time trial, you're gonna write down what your average RPM was based on memory, but also based on the spreadsheet we provide if you're using the classic assault bike here. So this particular working set is 5 sets, 3 minutes at your time trial pace minus 2 to 5 RPM. So let's assume that your time trial average RPM was 70 RPM. Then you do 1 minute at your time trial RPM at either minus 0 or minus 1 RPM, resting 2 minutes between each round. So what I like to do is I just start the monitor and I'm just gonna bike straight out. You know, this is gonna take me 30 minutes. This is 30 minutes of straight work because this is 6 minutes here, 5 rounds. So from time 0 to 3, I'm gonna set a goal trying to maintain this 66 RPM, which is minus 4, right? 70 minus 4, 66. And then while I'm biking, I'm gonna have this next to me. I might have a little water bottle there as well. And at the 3 minute mark, I'm just gonna write down, maybe I held 65 on average. And then from 3 to 4, I'm gonna pick up my pace and I'm gonna try to hold 70 RPM, which is in that range. And maybe I held 69, so I'm still in that range. Then from 4 to 6, 0. I get a rest, I can walk around, I can bike at a very easy pace. And then from 6 to 9, I'm right back on the clock. I'm gonna try and hold 66, maybe I held 67. And then from 9 to 10, I'm gonna try and hold 70, that time I hold 70. And then I can write all this down, record it, and use that as a reference point the next time I have a similar interval session. So there we go. That's how I like to use the Assault Bike in the working sets, and that's how you can sort of apply that Train Your Weakness program. Hopefully that helps you interpret it better and you can get nice and fit and enjoy your time on the Assault Bike even more than you did before.